Ciomyk. This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am at Aberdeen Acres Homestead Farm near Eugenia in Ontario, and I'm here with farmer Danielle Ciomyk. And I'm meeting some new friends here. So, Danielle, I believe that you grew up in Richmond Hill, in Toronto, just outside of Toronto. And what? This goat is trying to eat my shorts. I knew this would be fun. Hey you! And what was it that you've been inspired to be a farmer and be self-sufficient for quite some time? Tell me a little bit about that history.
So it all started when I was 8 years old. So I grew up riding horses, and with horses, I mean, you get introduced to all sorts of different aspects of farming.
Yes.
So, we had chickens there, and then we had goats, and then we had all these different things. And that sort of inspired me to look more into the different aspects of farming and such like that. And then eventually, I've always been very interested in the environment and conscious about ecological footprint. And farming getting into that seemed sort of like a natural sort of journey for me. So that's how I got into growing my own food and doing stuff like that. So
Now, I believe when you were at university, you started to get interested in the tiny homes movement. Tell me a little bit about that.
I did. So when I was in university, I was really struggling with, what I was going to do when I got out. I have a degree in, it's called bioresource management, but I specialized in equine. And so one day I remember I was just online just looking at different options because I didn't know where I was going to live after. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I came across a video by somebody called A Tiny House Named Dolly. And that was the first I ever saw of any tiny house movement stuff. And it just sort of really inspired me. It really struck a chord. And I felt very inspired to continue on with that sort of journey. I mean, now our life has sort of taken a different path, but for a long time it was very much my goal to have a tiny house and live that sort of lifestyle.
Now, it's quite an interesting property you have here because the home that came on the land is quite an interesting structure. Tell us a little bit about that.
So this is locally known as the Beehive House. All of the locals know it. And so it was sort of built in the 1970s, and it was what I've been told and what many have referred to as a hippie house.
Right.
So it had a sauna inside with a stove coming out the roof. It was quite a unique space. But then somebody bought it in 2012 and they renovated it until we bought it in 2021.
I believe it had a central fireplace as well, like
it
a chimney that came right.
Yeah. It was quite the unique building, but there's been a lot of work that's needed to be done just because it's an older structure. So we had the roof redone, we've redone a lot of the stuff inside, and just regular maintenance that you would get with a house. So just it being a beehive shape doesn't really affect the
Well, I've always noticed that as I was driving down the road here, and always wondered what it was like. So you mentioned the tiny homes aspect, but I believe you were also interested in being self-sustained from an early age also.
Yes. So I've always been someone who's very obsessed almost with being prepared.
Much like myself, actually.
Yes, yeah. It's been sort of, I've never really wanted to need to rely on anybody else. I don't know why, but that's always very much scared me since I was little.
Right.
I would always do things in a way such that I could do it all by myself. So if I needed to do a hard task, I would find a way around it so that I wouldn't need to ask for help. So that sort of tied into this because in order to not need to rely on other people, you would need to be growing your own food. You would need to be, sewing your own clothes. And I've known how to sew from a very young age, so that was natural. But the gardening thing, I had never grown anything until 3 years ago when we moved we were at our old farm. I had never grown a single thing in my entire life. So we had a garden there, and that sort of kick-started like kind of a passion for gardening that I didn't think that I could have. I mean, I've killed every houseplant I've ever owned pretty much. So
much like myself.
Yes, yeah. So but it's a lot different when you're growing in the ground. So yeah, that's sort of where that came from. And then when you grow your own food, it's a very rewarding feeling. So, I mean, you know what goes into it. Like our garden, I don't know if you can see it, our garden's over there, and I'm out there every day. I mean, I water it, I fertilize it, I know exactly what's going into that food, and that's a very rewarding experience as well, for sure.
Now, you mentioned you had to learn about gardening and the like. What other skills did you have to learn? Because you're here with your husband. How do you divide the chores at the farm?
So a lot of the chores outside are mainly done by Gordy. And then a lot of the inside stuff that I do, but then we also have designated tasks as well, inside and outside. So I've sort of taken on the role of the milking of the cow. That's a big part of this. That's a skill I had to learn. That was
new to you.
That was a completely new experience.
Okay.
I'd never done anything like that before in my entire life. So that was really something that takes a lot of work to get to know how to do that. Now the chickens also are sort of my activity, my passion, my thing. So I take care of them. I do the breeding groups. I plan all sorts of different parts about the chickens. Gordy is a horse person. He's been a horse person for all of his life. Hello. And so he takes care of the horses, and he takes care of most of the larger livestock that we have here. So that's sort of what we do with that. And then I bake all of the bread. I do all of the butter that we do.
Yes.
I take care of the garden. So it's sort of quite evenly divided, I would say.
Now, I had read on your website that successfully hatching quail's eggs was one of the steps on the ladder to where you are today.
Yes, so that was a very interesting experience. I'd seen a video online from an account called A Chick Called Albert, and so that video was where he took quail eggs from a grocery store and hatched them. Now, this is only possible because male and female quails look so similar, so it's very difficult to distinguish between the two sexes of the birds. So, I mean, it's really unpreventable that you would get completely infertile eggs from a quail program.
I was going to ask you that question.
Yes,
Right.
So, I mean, with chickens, it's very easy. You can see that that's a rooster and that's a hen. But with quails, it's just a minor consideration of the coloring on their breast, and that's it. That's all, the only difference that you could tell. So leading back into what your question was, it's very difficult to tell the difference between them. So often quail eggs from the grocery store can be fertile. So I saw that video and I was very inspired. I said, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I'd love to try that myself. So I went out to the store and I bought 18 quail eggs from a little Asian grocery store in Guelph, where we used to live when I was in university. And so I had an incubator from Amazon, and I hooked it up and I looked up all the details, and I very strictly watched over these eggs for 18 days because they take 18 days to hatch. And only 2 of them hatched out, and both ended up being females. And I remember it was just the most incredible experience to see them hatch, because I'd never seen a chicken hatch before. I'd never seen a quail hatch before. And it was just sort of like the miracle of life, and it was so cool. And so I was very inspired by that to continue and try to do it with chickens and ducks and all of the other egg laying.
So when it comes to these egg laying creatures, what kind of breeds do you have here? Because some of them look quite special.
Oh yes, we have a wide variety. So we mostly do heritage breed chickens.
Yes.
So what that means is it's just very old, some of the first breeds that were really in existence. So this is a GT, the speckly brown one here.
Oh, yes.
She's called a speckled Sussex. And then the rest of the 3 around here, those are Americanas. So they lay blue eggs.
Oh,
and,
yes, yeah.
Yeah, and they come in different colors. So you'll notice this one's like a slate gray, this one's black, and then that one's white and black. And so they can come in many different colors, which is very, very cool. The one guest we've had for this interview, Chevy, he's a mixed breed, so we don't really know exactly what he is, but we have a couple of them as well. And then Lily over there, she's a Brahma cross, so we have a lot of crosses as well.
All right, and you also have your horses here, don't you?
We do. We have the horses, and we have cows and sheep and goats, and we have just a wide variety of animals. And part of the reason for that is because biodiversity is the most important thing on a farm. Like, the more that you have, the better your land will be, the better your soil will be, the better your environment will be. For example, if you were to graze horses and small ruminants like goats, sheep, or cattle on the same field, they would eat different, they would eat like the parasites from the other one.
Yes.
So then the parasite load diminishes. As you can see, the goats have this pen and they keep the grass down low so we don't have to use our mechanical lawnmower. So yeah, having horses and all this is very good for the land and to regenerate everything.
I know that I was introduced to Aberdeen Acres Homestead through my family who came here on a farm visit.
Yes.
And your farm tours are integral to what you do here, right?
They are, yes. So the whole point behind it is that I love to educate people. I mean, I have a university degree. I love school. I love to teach people about things. And so our farm tours are very educationally based. It's not just you come and you pet an animal. It's you come, you pet an animal, you learn about where it's from, you learn about what it's used for, you learn about how we keep them and how is the best way to maintain these animals. It's not just like a petting zoo. So yeah, the farm tours are, I'm very passionate about that and teaching people about farming and animals and livestock.
Oh, our son absolutely loves it.
Oh, good.
Absolutely loves it. Now, if people were interested in tasting your wares, eggs, butter, bread, vegetables and the like, how would they go about accessing that?
So we do all of our orders through email. If you have any inquiries, we're more than welcome to answer them through Facebook and through Instagram. We're at Aberdeen Acres Homestead on everything. But yeah, so if you want to do any official booking or any official ordering, we do that through email. Our email is aberdeenacreshomestead@gmail.com. So just send us a line and we'll get back to you usually within 24 hours.
So I feel that often people really romanticize the kind of self-sufficiency in the homesteading lifestyle, and having your own farm space like this. What would you say the greatest... Hello. What would you say the greatest challenges you have discovered have been? Because I know it's actually incredibly hard work.
It is, so it's a lot of work. I mean, we work every single day of the year, Christmas, New Year's, holidays, every single day. But I would say the challenges that we would say are the most difficult challenges that we faced are just not knowing. Like, I was not raised on a farm. I was not raised in an environment that was conducive to knowing all of these things. I don't know how to can. I didn't know how to make butter. I didn't know how to do any of this. So we've had to learn everything, and learning while doing is good, but it's also very difficult because you don't know the answers to everything right away. Whereas something you have experience with, you would be like, oh, okay, well, these are the options that I know how to fix this problem. But we didn't have that. We had no knowledge of these things. So we've been figuring that out on our own. And another challenge I would say is just everything that's unforeseen.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, like unforeseen vet bills, I would say. The fence, if it falls down, we have to go and fix that, which is not difficult, but it's still an unforeseen circumstance.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Animal death, that's very hard. Yes. I mean, the more animals you have, the more death you see. It's just, it just comes with the territory of owning animals. And I mean, we don't have much death here, but I mean, it does happen, obviously, because animals are animals and they all have an expiration date, I guess. But yeah, that's what I would say the biggest challenges are for here. It's just, yeah.
So this is Marmalade. This is your cow.
Yes, so she's a Jersey cow. She just had her second birthday in April.
Oh yes.
And she's just had her first baby. So we call this a first calf heifer. And she's giving us about 20 liters of milk a day.
Oh wow,
yeah.
And when do you have to do that milking?
So we milk her twice a day. We milk her at 6 a.m. and around 6 to 8 p.m. And we get about 10 liters each time, and so half of that goes to the calf and then half of that we keep for the household. That's
quite a lot of milk.
It is, and
yes,
she's quite small. I don't know if you can see compared to me how small she is. She's eating grass, so she's a little bit annoyed. But she's very small, and so the amount that she produces is definitely a great amount for such a small little girl. So she's a good girl, though. She's very friendly.
Danielle, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. We love what you do at Aberdeen Acres Homestead and look forward to sharing more of your produce over the next few months and years.
Thank you so much.
Bye for now.
Bye.